Okay, let's make sure we are going live or we are live on social media real quick. Give me 1 second.
It's looking good.
There we go. Yeah, we're live. We are live. Let's get this going. All right, guys, welcome back to episode 135 of Titos&Chicken, your unofficial South Carolina Gamecocks podcast, coming at you with a low country state of mind. Guys, we got a little different setup here. One, we're missing Lindsay, my co-host. She is very busy with work. She has a new title this year. So she's got a lot of stuff going on there that she has to do. So unfortunately, she is not on this episode. But I got my boy Zach with me here. You know, I can always depend on this guy to rock with me here on this episode. Also, I got Tim from Cox Talking Gamecocks. We've linked up before talking baseball, but I believe this is our first football conversation here. So,
That's right. That's
Tim,
right.
welcome, man. Welcome.
Appreciate it.
Yes, yes, yes. Guys, you know the format of how we do our episodes. We do our quick hits, we do our breakdown, and at the end of each episode, we do our listener questions and our predictions. So let's go ahead and start this episode. We're going to go with our quick hits first. South Carolina versus Kentucky next weekend in Lexington at 3:30 kickoff. ABC, we're going to be on, not SEC Network, not SEC Plus. We are going to be on ABC. Guys, I know we play Old Dominion this weekend, but what do you think about that matchup next weekend? Zach, I'll start with you.
It's an interesting matchup for sure. You know, Brock Vandagriff coming over from Georgia brings an interesting matchup for South Carolina to see what, really for Kentucky, because that offense could be deadly if that Brock Vandagriff is really good, right? If he's who they say he is. But we obviously have not seen Brock Vandagriff yet. The reports are that he's strong, that he's been great out of camp. And look, the wide receiver position in Kentucky is very, great, right? I wanted to say it's very. I wanted to say it was key, but obviously Dan Key, and that would have led to a pun. So we didn't go there with that. But Dan Key is fantastic. I think the thing about it with South Carolina, Kentucky, right, is that Shane Beamer, he's had Kentucky's number, right? I mean, look at it. And look, Kentucky's defense is strong, right? Walker is a nightmare out of Elm Street, honestly. He's a beast. So it's going to be interesting to see what our offensive line looks like this week. This weekend against ODU to kind of tell us a little bit about what we could see against Kentucky, because like that defensive line is solid, right? But look, it's honestly, this is the game that tells us who we are, and as early as it is in the season, and I hate that, but these two trajectory of these teams is going to end up right here between South Carolina and Kentucky in week 2. So we're going to find out early about what we're made of. But I like South Carolina's chances, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Shane put his stupid sunglasses on and dance again.
Tim, how about you on this matchup next weekend?
Yeah, Zach, I think you hit it right on the head, where the offensive line play that we see against Old Dominion is going to give us a little bit of insight as to how they're going to handle a much better defensive line against Kentucky. There's been some interesting reports this offseason from Kentucky and Mark Stoops. Like, something's going on there. Like, maybe he has one foot out the door, eye on another job, the Iowa job, maybe. So I do have a couple of questions about his lovely culture and climate, whatever the hell he wants to call it. But I think this game not being at night helps. It's obviously tough for Lenoris and company to go on the road, but I think this matchup is going to be like your father's SEC type of game, defense and running. And I think whoever can sort of outlast the other will win. And I think last year, South Carolina being able to get the W behind a god-awful offensive line and no running game. And now this year, hopefully with an improved offensive line and better running game, I like our chances as well. But let's see what happens week 1. And then hopefully we all are feeling great about week 2.
Yeah. No, exactly. And guys, I'm sorry. I know we do play Old Dominion this weekend, but I had to bring up that Kentucky game. We will talk more about it next week. Obviously.
It's a big one. It's a big one for sure.
It is a big one. It is. It really is. We'll move on. How about the battle armor video that we had? I was not expecting that. Not the uniforms. The uniforms too, but that just caught me off guard. Is this something you see that we're going to do every week? Tim?
I'm going to say no to the battle armor videos every week, but I could definitely see it like if there's a change in the uniform, like another throwback, or for just maybe some of the bigger games. But my prediction, no every week. That was a must champ thing.
Yeah, okay. I got you. Zach, you feel the same way?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Tim on that because Justin King, I mean, they're always putting out creative media every day, man. Like the stuff they put out. And there's things
They're
that
phenomenal,
honestly,
literally.
oh, they are, man. There's things that, dude, the general public has never seen because of either maybe a game was on one or and whatnot. So there's lost files, right, that Justin King has to work with. But look, what South Carolina's creative media team does is just fantastic, and they'll continue to do it. But as like what Tim said, it's more of a must champ thing. And Beamer, he's already stated, I don't say it really annoys him when he gets a uniform, calls about, hey, what are we going to wear this weekend and all that. But he has his mind somewhere else, which is great. So
yeah, true. And I'm fine with that. Honestly, like when we went away from the battle armor videos every week, I was cool with that. I was that guy who said we need to focus more on our opponent and instead of what we're wearing. I took flack for that. People were just like, "Oh, you're just a downer." I'm like, "Okay, cool." But that's just me. That was a cool video. I liked it. I really like the uniforms that we're going to be wearing this weekend, paying tribute to those old teams that came through. I like it. I'm a fan of the uniforms. Would y'all say the same thing?
Oh, they're fire. Like,
Yeah.
and like even down to the detail of the block C changing the font up to what it used to be. Like,
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I think they knocked it out of the park.
Perfect.
Yeah, I tell you what, that's something that South Carolina and Under Armour had been done very well. That's something they continue to do well, but I'm disappointed in the fan apparel, man. I hate how
I
they put
agree.
out fan apparel.
It makes no sense.
I think we can all agree in that. And here I am wearing an Under Armour shirt. Wow, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of shit for that.
I think we're 3 for 3 on the Under Armour.
I think we are.
3 for 3. Yeah.
I will say this though, like when they embroider their stuff, okay, it's good. Like this part is embroidered, this part is embroidered. But I've already said it once, man, in my podcast. I mean, look, it's that screen print garbage. Like, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing this? You put it in the dryer by mistake, and you can forget it. You know what I mean? So that's just it's aggravating.
Yeah. That's another topic that I've talked about a lot in this offseason is switching over or wanting to switch over to Nike or something. I just think the whole relationship with Under Armour, I think it's just washed now. Who was the last team in the SEC? Auburn. No, was it Auburn that left this year?
I think it is Auburn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we are the only SEC team with Under Armour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Well, South Carolina, that should tell you a lot there. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something, guys. It's been on my timeline literally for the last 3 days. Me and Tim have been so confused by it. Zach knows everything about it, apparently. Zach, talk to us about this Vandrevius meme. I don't even know what it's called. Just tell us what the hell is going on here.
I mean, hey, look, Gamecock Twitter. Hey, it's a place, man. Right? Gamecock Twitter. It has its ups, it has its downs, but I'll tell you what, man. It is an entertaining fan base that South Carolina has here between all the burner accounts and fan accounts and big personalities. I mean, it is a fun time, and yeah, it's just another thing that fans have found a way to get these different players involved with different memes and things like that. So you had Vandrevius go on, which I made one with made a meme with him at DJU, where DJU was doing the video outside the gas station for his NIL deal, and had Vandrevius peeking out of the car, so that was kind of fun on the driver's side. And then I think the most recent one is Jared Brown. So I think it's something you're going to see all season, or throughout the season.
Okay.
Of different players being, different memes made about them and all that, just having a little fun. So, and Vandrevius, those guys, they love it. The players, they love all those interactions. If it's a positive one, I always say it, man. There's always people like, don't tweet at players, don't tweet at recruits, man. If it's positivity and it's good, because I'm telling you, these recruits love it, the players love it. I've had those conversations with both of them. I had the conversation with coaches. Keep doing it, man. If it's positive, keep doing it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I totally agree. I it was literally flooding my timeline, and I was just like, what the hell is going on?
It was unavoidable. It was just,
it really was.
I mean, I got in on it not knowing what the hell we were doing. I was just like, I'll reply Vandrevius to everything then. Like, sure. Like,
yeah.
And I guess we're doing Jared Brown. Like, let's go. I love it.
Yeah, as well.
It was everywhere. But okay, guys, we're gonna go ahead and jump into this episode. Obviously, we're playing Old Dominion this Saturday. 4:15 kick, right? I believe 4:15 on the SEC Network. Old Dominion 6-7 last season, 5-3 in conference play. They are from the Sun Belt Conference, aka the Fun Belt, as what I've been told. They lost to some teams last year. I felt they should have. They lost to Virginia Tech, lost to Wake Forest, and they lost to Coastal Carolina. I'm going to just say we're really not going to hit a lot on this team, guys. We're going to talk more about, us. But I would say their best player is probably their quarterback. Would y'all agree? Have y'all been looking at their stats a little bit? Zach, yeah. I'll go ahead with you a little bit here.
Yeah, I would say that as far as ODU goes, I'm interested in that linebacker group, though.
Yes, and that's on, yeah. They're pretty solid. Well, they have a returning starter who was the leading tackler last year. So I heard he's pretty solid. But back to the quarterback. Grant Wilson, 2,149 yards last season, 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He also rushed for 300 yards. So, I mean, the guy's, I would say, a dual threat. I mean, guy can move. He was the third leading rusher on the team. The running backs, both of the leading rushers transferred out. I guess they had good seasons and they went elsewhere. One went to Michigan State, and I can't remember where the other one went. Receivers, their leading receiver transferred out as well. But their second leading receiver, he's still there. He had 451 yards, 2 touchdowns. And like we mentioned earlier, the quarterback likes to sling it around, guys. So our secondary is going to be in for one with these guys. In defense, which we just hit on, their leading tackler returns. Zach mentioned their linebacking core is their one of their strengths, of their team. How can I say this? I mean, Zach, what would you say about this matchup? What else can you add? What are you looking forward to the most here?
To me, what I'm looking forward to the most is I'd say the experience that South Carolina has on this defense, what they've brought in from the transfer portal, and how bad does that wreck ODU's game plan? And what does that, what does that project for, next week, right? Next weekend. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And also, the offense, right? We got to see something. Obviously, you're not going to see everything thrown out. At least you hope you don't see the whole game plan thrown out. If we're throwing the whole game plan out against ODU, we're going to have some issues, right? So I'm not saying that's going to happen by any means. I'm not saying that at all. But I think everybody's right now what they're waiting for. And, tell me guys if you believe this as well. But I think everybody's just waiting on Lenoris. Like, everybody wants to see Lenoris in-game action. We saw parts of it last year against Furman in garbage time. We saw it against Vanderbilt on a terrific run, into the end zone for 36 yards out. So we know Lenoris can ball. His high school, what he did in high school showed a lot. I mean, 59 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 6, whatever, something like that. Just outrageous numbers. And I think we all just we're just anxious at this point, man. Like we can't wait to see Lenoris be that guy, right? We've heard it all season. The talk has been there. The scouts have said it when they were watching Spencer, when he was getting ready for the NFL draft, last season. So it's Lenoris is the talk, man, and that's what everybody wants to see right now.
Very true. Tim, how about you on this matchup here?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those deals where the hay is in the barn and we're just waiting for this thing to get going, right? But I think it's an interesting matchup just from the standpoint of it's week 1 and anything can happen in college football, especially week 1, right? Their offense, they like to move quick. They like to spread them out. They have some funky formations. Shane Beamer has cited that it's not unlike Tennessee. So I think having experience playing Tennessee with their tempo and how they spread it out, I think that's, speaking to Zach's point, the veteran presence that you have, especially in the secondary on this defense, I think it's going to pay dividends for sure. And, the running game, offensive line, all these things that we've heard about, are they going to be improved? we need to see it in action against a Sun Belt team. We don't have to win 72-0, but you better be able to flex your muscles against ODU, because if not, it's going to be a lot. But let's keep it positive. But that's what I'm looking for sure. Like this new and improved defense, actually.
Okay. I agree with you guys 100%. I'm not saying we're going to go out there and absolutely bully the line of scrimmage, move the line of scrimmage, but you want to see improvements in the offensive line. The offensive line is supposed to be strong this year. The running game, strong this year. 2 units that were awful the year before in prior years, So I'm very excited. I'm ready to see Josiah as well. He's from Dillon, right up the street here. Well, not right up the street, probably about an hour away. But, I'm excited to see him, true freshman in there. I was a little, how can I say this? Not puzzled, but how can I say this? About Tree not starting. I want to talk about that real quick. Zach, what are your thoughts on that? And then I'll intervene here.
So between Tree and Ball, right? Like guys that are starting to start the season out, to me, it says a lot about experience, man. Like what we brought to the offensive line this season. And granted, sure, Tree's not starting, but you bring in Josiah Thompson, and hey, guys, we've never had a 5-star offensive lineman at South Carolina, right?
No.
So bring in Josiah Thompson, and if he's starting, bro, like that's the real deal, Holyfield. So, hey, for me personally, I'm good with it, and we can see Tree slide over right throughout the season, and also there's been talk that Tree's not 100% either, so you got a lot of things going on right now that I see no issue with it. And having a 5-star offensive lineman start at South Carolina, hey, I'm good with it. I'm good with it because that means he is who he is, right?
Yeah.
So
that's true. That's true. That's true. Tim, what do you feel about Josiah starting over Tree?
Yeah, I mean, I think you use the word puzzled. Like, I think when you look at the depth chart, that's your first instinct. You're like, well, what the heck? Because conventional wisdom will say Tree and Tro got their reps in. They played pretty well, like, in live SEC action. So why wouldn't they continue to develop and start?
Yeah.
But that's just sort of this typical, like, okay, year over year, you're going to get better. But when you bring in new players who have higher ceilings and could be more physical right out the gate, they're smart, they learn the system. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that a guy like Josiah Thompson or maybe Torselli comes in and wins a starting job. And I think maybe Josiah might have, I don't know, maybe he has a shorter leash just because he is a freshman, knowing that you have some experience behind him. But yeah, I think, like Zach just said, it speaks to the experience and the improvement in that group.
Yeah. And my thing is here too. Big Tree is not a slouch here, guys. Like this guy had a fairly decent season last year. This is not like Josiah's taking over for some bum or anything like that. That's not even the case, remotely the case. It's just this guy is just, he's a talent. He's a 5-star talent. You can't have him sitting on the bench, Obviously, his talent speaks for himself. It did in camp, and he's starting. So, but Tree's going to get in the game. I know he's going to get in the game. That's not even a question. So
yeah, they both will. They both.
Yeah. We'll see how that plays out. Okay, let's talk about the offense here. Who needs to have the biggest game offensively? Tim.
I think it's got to be Rocket. We're talking about a guy you brought in. Everyone was excited about him. 1A, 1B last year, the worst groups, offensive line and running back.
Yeah.
His job is to come in and provide stability. He's coming off an injury season, shortened season, rehab. He's reshaped his body to be more like his 2022 self. He needs to have the biggest game from the standpoint of producing, but more so leaving the field with confidence that he can turn around in week 2 and be that all SEC back. He doesn't need to have an incredible stat line, but if he runs the ball well, maybe gets in the end zone once, has an explosive play or two thrown in, it will settle everybody down and allow everybody to say, okay, we really do have that bell cow back now.
Yeah. Okay. Zach, how about you? Biggest player, on offense needs to have the biggest game.
I agree with Tim. We have not had a running back like Rocket since honestly in 10 years since Mike Davis. I mean, let's call it how it is. I mean,
Yeah.
not to say Brandon Wiles, Kevin Harris, guys like that, they weren't great at the running back position because they were great at the running back position. But Mike Davis, like to remember him, his style, the way he ran, like a lot of people thought when Marcus was done, like we would fall off there at the running back position. Then you had Mike Davis right there alongside of him that really came through, and he had a decent NFL career as well. But we had not truly had a running back like that since then. And Rocket, if we get the Rocket of old, I'll tell you right now, man, these naysayers and everybody else, these pundits, they're going to change their tune pretty quick. If we get the Rocket of old, like if he goes
even
80%,
like even 80% of that 22 season.
Yeah. I mean, he's tremendous, man. So I agree with Tim.
Yeah. So here's another question here. Over under on 115 yards for him Saturday. Zach, where are you going on that one?
I went over. I said 135 in a prediction that I had.
Wow.
He's going to go off then.
Let's go. That's why you said him.
Yeah. So, I know the strength is, really where the linebacker position is with Old Dominion, but I think Rocket just brings another side of the game, and we've been told the reports are that he's ready to go, he's healthy. Yeah. I like the chances, man. I like to go over that number.
And he's got an offensive line that's going to, open some holes for him. Well, we would like to think that. You know? So, Tim, how about you? Over and under 115 yards?
I'm going to take that under. I live by life's too short to bet the under, but in this instance, I'll take the under. I think he's going to have a good game, but I do think maybe if this game is in hand in the fourth quarter, maybe they hold him back a little bit. But again, want him to have a great night. If he goes over, I will gladly be on the wrong side of this one.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. So we talked about Rocket. So we haven't said anything. Well, we've talked about Sellers as well a little bit. But Zach, just him in this game, like what should we expect from Sellers this game? Do we open up the playbook, let him get comfortable? Or do we kind of close it a little bit, not show everything that he can do? Because Kentucky's obviously going to be watching tape on this game.
Yeah. Well, to me, I don't think you open it unless you absolutely need to. And like I said, if you have to open it fully against ODU, like I said, there's going to be some problems there. But I think what we're going to see from Lenoris, you're going to see a few through the air, through touchdowns through the air. And I think we're going to see some ground game as well to see what he can do, how to stretch out the game a little bit more, stretch out the field than what we've seen in the past, right? I mean, let's be real. I mean, Spencer was, pretty mobile, but a guy that could really, move the pocket and everything like that, Connor Shaw, right? That's the name that comes to mind. And I had that conversation with Connor last weekend, and we talked about that. Like Connor, because he asked me, he said, "What do you think about Lenoris?" And I told him, and I told Connor, honestly, like, there's a lot of his game, like especially in high school that we saw. Like, it reminds me of your game, man. Like being able to move the pocket, be able to stretch out a little bit. So, and he's like, yeah, I mean, he's extremely smart. He did say this, like, and this hadn't been said yet, but he does believe that. Let's say, for example, if we, have little issues at the wide receiver position, because of Lenoris's game ability and what he can do, it's going to hide it's going to hide some issues from what we may see on the offense. So, good. Yeah. So, I mean, it's good stuff from Connor. So, like I said, that's the way I see things, man. I see we open a little bit, but I do think we see what Lenoris can do.
Okay. All right. Tim, over under on passing yards for Lenoris, 225.
That's a tough one. I was looking at some games from the past. I don't want to say under be like a Debbie Downer for both, but I was thinking under just from the standpoint of I think they keep the reins on the passing game a little bit. Like if the run game is working, they're just going to ride it all night long, and he might get in on that too. So I think I might say just a shade under, like you had 225, maybe like 217, something like that. But I do think we get to see what Lenoris can do, and I think we walk away feeling good about our quarterback.
Okay. All right. All positive things. I like it.
Now, Evan, wait, who did you have? Who do you got for your impact player? Who should have the biggest game on the offense?
My impact player, I would like Man, that's a hard one because I'm going between the quarterback and running back here, but I really would like to see what Lenore's does Saturday. I mean, obviously he's the captain, he's the leader of the offense. We're running behind him. What he does is what the Gamecocks offense do. So I am very just intrigued in watching him play. Obviously I don't want him to get hurt. I don't want any player to get hurt. But I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to him. Not even a question.
Love that.
So we'll see what happens. Let's see here. Let's talk about the receivers a little bit here. We haven't said much about the receivers. We want to talk about Harbor here. We want to talk about Brown. Who is a receiver you guys feel, Zach, I'll start with you, that's, just going to shine that game? Someone Norris is going to look to the most.
Whew.
Putting you on the spot. I apologize.
Yeah, I'm glad you're going first.
I apologize. That was not on the outline, guys. I put him on the spotlight here.
Yeah, put me on the spot on that one. I'll tell you what, man. Just like these memes have been showing, man. I like the Trevius Jacobs, man. I really do. I think Jacobs was just a huge get from Florida State, and not him getting the adamant amount of playing time. I think it's one of those Florida State's going to look back at God dang, we took Jaheim Bell, but they took Jacobs, and Jacobs is making a huge impact compared to what Bell did for us at Florida State. So, I got Jacobs to be my guy for this game.
Okay. How about you, Tim? What you feel in this game?
Gamecock Twitter would go insane if he scores a touchdown.
Oh God, they would. They absolutely would.
It would pop off. I'm gonna go Gage Larvadane out of Miami, Ohio transfer. I like. We don't have these massive wide receivers outside of Campbell and Harbor, really, but he's close. I want to say he's listed at maybe 6 foot, so not the biggest guy, but I think he brings the most complete skill set of these transfers. Productive at his last stop, albeit a lower level, but something about him, I don't know. This whole time I've been I think he could turn into a pretty good guy.
Okay. So my thoughts on Jared Brown, the Coastal Carolina guy. What do y'all think about him? I mean, he's, I've heard good things about him out of camp. He's obviously going to be a starter, but do you think he can contribute to the offense outside of Harbor? Tim.
Yeah, I mean, why not? He's got speed, he's got hands. Decent route runner from what I've heard. But yeah, I think there's absolutely no reason to think that he can't contribute in regular passing game. But even if you want to get him on some jet sweeps and things like that. But yeah, I think he could be a guy that people are talking about, especially as the year goes on.
Okay. All right. Well, we've talked about the offensive line a little bit. We're going to switch over to defense here. I put this in the outline. I noticed more than likely isn't going to happen. But Zach, do you think the Gamecocks can pitch a shutout here?
Woo.
Tim's pointing. Yes. Tim's pointing here.
Do it.
A shutout. Hey, look, I like my guys. I do. I love them.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they're ready to pull out a shutout yet.
I got you.
Reason why, just that quarterback, man. He can move the pocket a little bit. He's very explosive. He can run. That's tough, man. When you have somebody that's just, like I said, the pocket all day. I don't see it, man. I think, I'll obviously get the score later on, but I don't think we'll pitch a shutout on this one. I don't think we'll let them score much, but I don't see a shutout personally.
Okay. So, here's another question for you. What are you looking for out of the defense this game?
Oh, I mean, if they had a running back, I'd say stopping the run but I really don't put too much stock into what they've got in the running back room right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah.
So what I'm looking for, and it's a stat, it's actually sacks. I want to see our guys get to the quarterback personally. I mean, we haven't seen much of that since Clayton. Clayton's been here, and I'm not putting that against Clayton or anything. It's just this defensive line is way too talented. There's too much speed. There's too much experience for them to let the quarterback just sit there and throw all day. So that's where I'm looking at is I want to see some sacks racked up. And normally I'm not a stat guy when it comes to those kind of things, but I want to see some sacks. I want to see that quarterback on his tail in this game.
Yeah.
ODU's offensive line, to my knowledge, was ass last year. Yes. They were not good. So would stand to reason that we should be able to get after that.
We should be able to eat pretty much.
Yes. Hopefully.
So, Tim, what are you looking for out of the defense Saturday?
Yeah. I want to see them get off the field on third down because this was an issue that plagued the team far too much last season where giving up extended drives, getting into like third and medium, and you just can't close the door. So I want to see what feels like a deeper and more experienced team use that to get off the field on third down because playing Old Dominion, if you give them extra chances, you just don't want to give them any more hope. So close the door any chance you can.
Okay. Leading into my next question, which unit do you feel will have the best game? Tim.
Gotta say D-line, if we can kind of bunch the edges with them, as a whole. But D-line, they're going against a crap offensive line. They are deep. They can rotate. They're going to be fresh in that second half of the game, despite it being a hot day. I think they're going to have a nice game.
Okay. Well, I like hearing that being a defensive lineman myself. No, I was going to say defensive line too, guys. We're just super talented at that position. The transfers that we've had come in, I'm very excited to see what they can do. I really am. Zach, what about you? Which unit has the best game on defense?
Yeah, I'm right there with Tim, man. I think defensive line, as what I said. Like, I think, let's say, as Tim said, they're playing fresh into the second half. I think you're going to see another 5-star come out and, show what he can do. That everybody's like, well, why isn't he starting to begin with? So, there you go. So you'll get to see him play in this game. So I'm excited. Like I said, that's not to put anything against the linebacking group, man. I think what our linebackers are going to do. I think that's where we need to look at to them next weekend to see what they're going to do there. So
that's their true test.
For sure. Yeah, exactly. So like I said, defensive line is probably my group of guys there on this one.
Okay, all right. We all agree with defensive line. Your player of the game on offense. Did you hear me?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I think you might have broke up there.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
There we go. Your player of the game on offense for the Gamecocks.
Rocket. I think
go back to Rocket. Okay.
Yeah, I have to. I maybe not hitting the what did we say, 115 yards, but I think he's the player of the game for the Gamecocks.
Okay. Zach, how about you? Player of the game.
Yeah, I like that pick. But I'm going QB1 on this. Lenore Sellers starting his first game in Williams-Brice Stadium, dude. It's a dream of his. We had him on the show back in July, and look, man, the guy, he's adamant. Like he's excited. Like this is a dream come true for him. So being able to play that first game, get that first W in Williams-Brice Stadium as a starter at South Carolina, I'm all for it. So I think he's going to be the player of the game when it's all said and done.
I'm on Sellers as well. I also want to thank Syracuse because that's where he originally committed, wasn't it? And then we were able to take him from there. No, but seriously, I'm with Lenore's here. I'm truly really excited to see him play, man. I mean, we've been waiting so long for this. We have been all last season, off season. Here we are, here we are. We finally get to see him on the field, a full game, So, yeah, I would definitely go with Lenore's there as well.
Honorable mention could be Josh Simon because
we have not talked about the tight ends yet. That's a good one.
We have not. Like, he's a matchup nightmare for the SEC, let alone the Old Dominion defense. And a tight end is a young quarterback's best friend. I think Josh Simon could walk away having a big day.
Good, and I'm glad you brought up the tight ends. Tight ends, another unit we're pretty strong at, I would say.
Stacked.
Yeah, for the most part. I don't know how I missed that. But, I'm excited because, like you said, quarterback's best friend, tight end. So I'm looking forward to see what they can do as well this season. Your score prediction on this game, Tim, what you got?
I think the offense has a nice game. I think the defense might actually create a turnover, maybe even some points. I do think that fast-paced offense might give the defense a little trouble in the first half. So I do think Old Dominion does find the end zone. So give me 40-13 Gamecocks.
Oh, like that. I like that a lot. There will be a lot of happy fans. I can promise you that. Zach, where are you at on this score?
I'm leading to a 31-13 game for South
Okay.
Carolina. And this one, that's where I'm leaning at on this one.
Okay. I'm 31-10. Like I said, I feel like they're gonna. Old Dominion's gonna come out. A little fast. A little faster than what we were expecting. Score maybe a touchdown, field goal, and I think that's it, man. I truly do. Defensive line. This is the game they need to just show dominance. Like you said, Tim, this is a weaker offensive line, probably one of the weakest offensive lines we're going to face this season. So I'm curious to see what happens there with those guys. I'm going to go out here and say it. 3 sacks on this game here, Zach. 3. I see
like it.
I
like
totally see it. So
I like it.
But okay, we're gonna move on to our listener questions here, guys. We only got 2, so we're not gonna keep you too long. Gamecock Barbecue Club. You guys can probably guess what this question is gonna be. Evan, what's on the grill this weekend? That's a good question. I haven't decided yet. I'm more focused on this game on Saturday. I have not decided what I was gonna cook. Probably just do ribs. I mean, that's simple, Make some potato salad, some macaroni and cheese, have my little Labor Day party as in just me. So, yeah, be a good time here. Zach, you cooking out over the weekend or what?
Yeah, we bought some picanha down at the store the other day. For those who don't know, that's garlic steak, Brazilian garlic steak. So we're going to be doing that.
Well, you informed me on that. I did not
know.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Tim, what you doing, man?
Probably just going to keep it simple, just barbecue chicken, maybe some pasta salad, something along those lines, mashed potatoes, not going to rock the boat too much this weekend.
I got you. There you go. Okay, let's go to a football question here. From my guy, Weston, man, I love this guy so much. He's been a big contributor to this podcast, Gamecock Twitter in general. Which offensive and defensive player has to be impactful for us to succeed this season? Tim, where are you at on that one? Start with offense first.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about the whole season,
the whole season.
It comes down to the quarterback. It's an easy answer, but it's the correct answer where if Lenoris succeeds and lives up to some of this hype that he's gotten, and if he gets better as the year goes on, the Gamecocks' chances are good to have a decent season. So it's got to be him.
From ESPN predicting us to win 4 games, I think it is.
They got 4. I think Vegas has 5.5, which, that's not a terrible line. Shane Beamer's
No.
He's outperformed it 2 out of 3 times. So I think that's fair, 5.5.
Okay. All right. Now, defensive player, Tim, that needs to, I guess, succeed.
Yeah.
For us to succeed. Sorry.
I'm going to say O'Donnell Fortune. Because
I like that pick.
There's a lot of talk about the front 7, and rightfully so, right? Those guys, linebackers, defensive line. But we've had good defensive back play, where we're looking at, Smith and then Dial, right? Rush, that cornerback 1 position is Fortune's. But as much as we like to talk about who's going to take that number 2 spot, it doesn't really matter if Fortune can't hold his own and lock down some of these wide receivers we're going to face in Missouri, Kentucky, etc. Yeah. So if he can lock down that spot and play well, then I think everything else can fall into place on that defense.
Okay. Zach, how about you? Offensive player here.
Yeah, I hate to sound like a broken record on that one, but yeah, I also agree. Lenora Sellers. I mean, look, you got Robbie, and I was saying Robbie Ashford is a bust or anything, or a bum or anything like that. It's just he doesn't have what Lenora Sellers can do. I'll tell you this. I mean, Lenora Sellers. Look, people are talking about that quarterback. Like, what was it? Was it really a race and all that? I'm telling you right now, like Lenora Sellers, like he's going to be the real deal. So, yeah. That being said, yeah, if Lenoris doesn't perform, you're in for a rocky season, because let's say Rocket has issues. You still have a solid running back group behind him. Mm-hmm. You have Oscar Attaway, right? You got Howell. You've got Braswell. You've got Fuller. I mean, you've got a bunch of guys back there ready to go. So, quarterback, yes, it's Lenoris, man, who needs to perform for the season.
I got you. Now, how about defensive player here?
So this one I chalked up to leadership, and nobody's a bigger vocal leader than Debo Williams, right?
Yeah, that
Like
was going to
that's
be my pick. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, having his leadership with this defensive line, and granted, you've got, like I said, a lot of experience on this defensive line. The linebackers, you've added speed, and obviously the DBs. There's some questions there, but like when you have a solid leader at that linebacker position,
Yeah.
that anchors the whole defense. I mean, I'll say this as a Panthers fan, right? Watching Luke Kuechly do it for years with Thomas Davis. I mean, those two right there, they created that defense, right? So,
yeah,
looking for signals and calls. I mean, they're all over the place and they know what's coming. So, yeah, Debo Williams, he's got to have the season. Obviously, not just for one to have for us to do well this season, but also so my guy can get to the next level, right? Because he's a very smart individual. He knows the game very well. And like I said, Debo's my guy for that.
Okay.
Love that.
Good pick for sure. Guys, well, first here, real quick, Tim, you're coming to Columbia. Zach, you will be out there as well. We already know it's gonna be hot as hell out there, but I don't think any of us care. We're just gonna be happy to be back in Columbia. Tim, when's the last time you've been in Columbia for a football game?
In Columbia was the A&M game 2 years ago when Leggett housed the opener, and then I was in Charlotte against UNC last year.
Okay.
But yeah, recently made the big move. I'm in Charlotte now, so no longer.
Okay. I thought you were in New York. Wow.
Yeah, no longer. That's why I have all this space behind me. It's like insane. I don't know how to handle it. That's why also the stuff is still on the floor because we're still unpacking. But yeah, so like I actually plan on being at a couple of games this year. So
that's awesome.
Openers just the first of hopefully many.
Hell yeah. I love that. Well, like I said, you're more than welcome to come to the tailgate Saturday.
Absolutely.
Zach, I'm sure you're going to be there. Is Q going to be there as well?
Yeah. We're going to make our rounds. Troy Williamson, he's having a tailgate, so we're going to go hook up with him, see what's up with him. Then a couple players' families and stuff too. Then we're, like I said, make our rounds. I plan to get in that town around 11:30ish, just so I can park and start hitting people up and see what's going on.
Awesome. Well, guys, I really want to thank y'all so much for joining me on this episode, this first game episode that we've had. I know Lindsay couldn't join, but you guys did phenomenal. Really enjoyed it. Hopefully we can do this again next week. We'll talk about it and whatnot. But no, seriously, thank you guys for joining. Famously Garnet guys, and you got Cox Talking Gamecocks. These guys are very active on Twitter. I'm not really anymore, but I'm still there from time to time. So, but